Boston 911, what's your emergency? It's my wife. She's being attacked by one of our dogs. Where are you, Dennis Street? Please, you have to hurry. He's still on her. He won't let go. Oh, God. No, Evelyn. What kind of dog is it, sir? On that brisk November evening in 2024, the air over Roxbury, Boston carried the unmistakable chill of late autumn, settling deep into the bones of the neighborhood. But inside the modest home on Dennis Street, a far more chilling scene was unfolding, one that would shatter the fragile peace and forever stain the lives connected to it. This was not just the tale of an attack. It was the collapse of a lifelong bond between humans and their beloved animals, a bond forged in trust but fractured by instinct. Human beings crave connection in its purest form, a love that asks for nothing in return. For many, that connection comes through pets, the comforting nudge of a loyal dog, the gentle purr of a cat. We invite these creatures into our homes, into our hearts, believing that unconditional love grants immunity from harm. We comfort ourselves with the thought that those we raise and nurture would never turn on us. But when that trust is broken, not from spite, but from something deeper, more primal, the fallout is devastating. For 73-year-old Gloria and her husband Evelyn Hayes, that horrifying betrayal became all too real. Gloria was a beacon in Roxbury, known by neighbors as a kind soul whose warmth and generosity rippled through the community. Together, Gloria and Evelyn had crafted a life steeped in love and companionship, their home and alive with laughter and the lively presence of their dogs. To those around them, Gloria's heart was golden, a sentiment echoed by Jean McGuire, a respected civil rights pioneer and longtime friend who often spoke fondly of Gloria's nurturing spirit. Her devotion to her animals wasn't casual. It was the center of her life. Gloria didn't just have dogs, she considered them her children. Each night, according to her sons, she prepared home-cooked meals for her furry family, filling the house with the rich aroma of care and affection. The routine of walks, playtime in the yard, and quiet evenings spent with dogs curled at her feet was a testament to her belief in love's transformative power. But even the most devoted love can sometimes blind us to warning signs and lurking just beneath the surface. Gloria's world revolved around these animals, a world built on trust and tenderness. But beneath the joyful chaos of the household, subtle shifts were taking place. The pit bull's powerful, muscular dogs, bred for strength and tenacity, were becoming increasingly restless. The primary dog involved in the tragic incident was Deuce, a formidable pit bull, whose strength and natural assertiveness could not be overlooked. While many pit bulls live peaceful lives, their capacity for violence, especially when stressed or confined, remains an undeniable fact. The Hayes family's home was more than just a residence. It was a breeding ground for pit bull puppies. The number of dogs fluctuated constantly, from adult breeding pairs to litters of pups, creating a complex environment with inherent risks. Neighbors had voiced concerns for months. Loud, persistent barking echoed through the street day and night, painting a picture of dogs kept in close quarters. Their socialization limited their energy pent up. The warnings were not subtle whispers, but glaring alarms in the quiet neighborhood. Over time, a growing sense of unease took hold. Residents recalled how children instinctively avoided the house, and delivery drivers hesitated before approaching the gate. The dog's behavior was a source of anxiety, deep aggressive growls mingled with the relentless barking. The pack, believed to be 4 strong at the time, was large for a residential setting and volatile. It was not just the number of dogs that concerned people, it was their increasingly territorial and aggressive demeanor. Socialization, the cornerstone of responsible dog ownership, means more than just occasional contact. It's about consistent positive exposure to people, other animals, and varied environments, teaching a dog how to respond calmly and appropriately, tempering their natural instincts. But the dogs living on Dennis Street under Evelyn and Leonard Hayes' care led a far more isolated existence. Confined mostly to the property, their interactions beyond the gate were minimal, lacking the broad, balanced exposure that breeds confidence and reduces fear. This limited socialization, experts say, can fuel heightened reactivity, territorial behavior, and fear-driven aggression, especially in powerful breeds like pit bulls. Jean McGuire, Evelyn's longtime friend and landlord, had voiced her concerns openly and repeatedly. She loved Evelyn deeply and understood her profound devotion to her animals, but she couldn't ignore the signs growing more troubling by the day. The sheer number of dogs, their incessant barking, and most alarmingly, their apparent lack of socialization presented not just an annoyance but a real threat to community safety and animal welfare alike. Jean's warnings born from care and urgency seemed to fall on ears clouded by affection and hope. Evelyn believed love could overcome any challenge, dismissing minor growls, nips, in tense moments as normal or isolated incidents, small warnings that in hindsight were ominous harbingers of what was to come. Every ignored warning, every rationalized snap unraveled a fragile thread holding their household and neighborhood safety together. The dogs, particularly Deuce the dominant male, were growing increasingly volatile, their boundaries and inhibitions slipping away. This erosion wasn't sudden but slow and insidious like a tightening noose. The mounting tension set the stage for a tragic, brutal climax no one could have foreseen. On Monday, November 18th, 2024, as the late afternoon sun cast long shadows over Dennis Street, Evelyn was tending to her beloved pack, unaware of the horror about to erupt. What started as a subtle shift in energy quickly escalated into chaos. Deuce lunged with terrifying speed, his powerful jaws locking onto Evelyn's arm with devastating force. It was no warning bite. It was a full, unrelenting attack meant to cause maximum harm. Her screams shattered the fragile calm, echoing through the neighborhood like a distress beacon. Inside the house, or just outside, the horrifying details blur in the fog of trauma. Leonard, hearing the commotion, rushed toward the source with a terror that froze his heart. His wife was under siege by one of their own dogs. Without hesitation, driven by desperation and love, Leonard threw himself into the fray, attempting to pull Deuce off Evelyn. But the dog's aggression was unchecked. Turning on Leonard, Deuce unleashed his fury on him as well, inflicting serious wounds in a desperate battle for survival. The two struggled, locked in a bloody, frantic dance, their screams raw and primal, unheard beyond the immediate chaos. Deuce's focus remained unyielding, a relentless force of nature. Evelyn lay battered and bleeding, her strength draining rapidly, while Leonard, injured and exhausted, knew help was their only chance. Against overwhelming odds, he managed to break free his trembling hands, dialing 911, the call ringing with sheer terror. As seconds stretched into agonizing minutes, Evelyn fought to stay alive. The house transformed from sanctuary to battleground. The sound of sirens drew near a flicker of hope amid the darkness. But it was already too late. First responders arrived to a scene thick with the metallic scent of blood and raw fear. They found Evelyn gravely injured and barely conscious, Leonard wounded but fighting to stay with her. The officers quickly rendered aid, aware that every second was critical. Suddenly, the raging Deuce reappeared, wild-eyed and enraged, ignoring the uniformed officers trying to save his owner. The animal charged with terrifying speed, biting two officers before the situation escalated into a life-or-death struggle. Forced to protect themselves and the victims, one officer made the harrowing decision to fire a single shot. The bullet struck true, bringing Deuce down and ending the attack. Surveillance footage later captured the brutal intensity of those moments, a stark reminder of the razor-thin line first responders walk between chaos and order. With the immediate threat contained, emergency personnel rushed Evelyn, Leonard, and the injured officers to nearby hospitals, sirens wailing in a desperate race against time, leaving the neighborhood forever scarred by the events of that harrowing day. The sterile quiet of the hospital replaced the chaos that had engulfed Dennis Street just hours before. Inside the operating room, a skilled team of surgeons worked desperately, fighting against time and the severity of Evelyn Hayes' injuries. Every ounce of their expertise and determination was poured into saving her life. But the damage she had suffered was catastrophic, too extensive for even the most advanced medical interventions to reverse. Despite their relentless efforts, Evelyn's heart, once so full of boundless love for her family and animals alike, finally gave out. The loss hit her loved ones and the entire Roxbury community like a thunderous blow, an unbearable sorrow for a woman whose kindness and devotion had been unwavering. Leon Hayes, though gravely injured himself, was spared from the worst. His wounds, while serious, were not life-threatening, and he would physically recover. Yet the emotional scars etched by that horrific day would linger indefinitely. Memories of the night when love collided with unimaginable violence. The two police officers injured during the rescue were treated and released, their courage under fire, a somber reminder of the dangers first responders face. Meanwhile, Boston Animal Control arrived at Dennis Street to secure the scene. Deuce the Eye, whose fury had unleashed the tragedy, lay incapacitated, his condition worsening. After painful discussions, and with the reluctant consent of Evelyn's son, The decision was made to euthanize him, a grim necessity that closed a terrifying chapter. Deuce was not alone. Three other pit bulls, silent witnesses to the horror, or perhaps unsettled by the turmoil, were removed from the home. Their futures remained uncertain pending behavioral assessments to determine whether they could be safely rehomed or would face the same fate. The Boston Police Homicide Unit took over the investigation. This was no ordinary case. The brutal death of Evelyn Hayes demanded the highest level of scrutiny. Detectives meticulously interviewed Leon neighbors and first responders, piecing together every detail, every warning that had gone unheard. News of the tragedy exploded across local media headlines, screaming that a woman had been killed by her own pit bull. Social media buzzed with grief, outrage, and heated debate. Advocates rushed to defend the breed, emphasizing responsible ownership and training, while critics pointed to the inherent risks, reigniting a long-standing controversy around powerful dogs like pit bulls. Genevieve McGuire and Evelyn's son spoke publicly, their voices heavy with grief, painting a portrait of a woman who loved fiercely, a paradox that deepened the heartbreak. How could a creature so cherished turn with lethal force? Though protests did not erupt, the incident fueled passionate conversations in community meetings and online forums about dog ownership responsibilities, breed-specific legislation, and the complex balance between affection and safety. Internal reviews within the Boston Police Department examined the officer's response, affirming the tactical decisions made to protect human life in a rapidly evolving, violent situation. The community was left to mourn Evelyn's profound loss while confronting a sobering truth: even in the safest homes, animal instincts can erupt unpredictably, shattering lives in an instant. The tragedy of Evelyn Hayes stands as a bloody testament to a reality we often choose to ignore. Love, even the deepest, most unconditional, cannot always tame primal instinct. We craft worlds of comfort and companionship around our pets, blurring species lines, convinced that affection is a universal language. But beneath the surface, ancient urges lie dormant, waiting. Evelyn gave her all her time, her heart, her very life to those she loved. In the end, one of them took everything from her. The haunting question lingers: how well do we truly understand the creatures we welcome into our homes, into our hearts? The cold Boston wind whispers a tragic answer: sometimes not at all.